A normal night. Then, one shot changes everything. In a quiet parking lot, a young man's life is stolen in seconds. And the truth hides in shadows, lies, and a grainy camera frame. 3 suspects. 1 missing gun. And a mystery that refuses to stay buried. What really happened that night?
What is the address of the emergency?
I don't know. I'm just at the corner. It's like Sheridan and 20th. We're in the parking lot right behind the Dunkin' Donuts.
Okay,
It's right by that, like, the bar in Northern Lights Dispensary.
What's going on there?
Some guy just got shot. And he's on the ground. He's, like, face down. And they took off in a silver 2-door Pontiac. He's in the parking lot, like, face down. We're standing right next to him. He's still conscious and he's still breathing.
Where does he get shot at?
Where did he get shot at? I don't know. He's face down. He's not talking.
On April 5th, 2018, just after 8 p.m., we responded to a report of a shooting. At that point, we didn't know if the victim was alive or dead, but we knew as officers that this was a very bad situation. When we got to the scene, we activated their body cameras.
All right. Hey, Lincoln 1, incoming units, we need to get this.
You know what, I better actually pull out so that they can get medical in here.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Medical's gonna have to get into.
I'm gonna drive.
EMS was very quick to arrive. They started working on the victim, who had 1 single gunshot wound to his chest.
Yeah, they're doing CPR on a guy like that.
Got one, right?
Who are these folks that are right here?
This guy here's got a car. He wants to get out, but
Yeah, no, we're shutting the place down.
At that point in time, we weren't sure if he was alive or dead or what the situation was. So during all this commotion, the victim was pronounced dead on scene.
In the parking lot near the victim, a wallet had been located, and opening it, Colorado ID was found to an Andrew Genesek. This is a very crazy circumstance for me because I went to high school with Andrew. During that time, he played football, and I was a manager of the football team, so I interacted with Andrew pretty frequently. I was in shock.
Andrew, he was the sweetest kid. Actually, he was the first boy in our family on my side, and my mother just adored him. He was a chunky little baby. I kept saying, how can 3 folds of fat in your legs be so darn cute? But Andrew was always a big kid. Andrew was a very curious little boy, seeked a lot of pleasure in music. I think that was his biggest passion. Yeah, it was April 6th when I found out. I got up that morning and I get a call from the Edgewater PD, and they said, I'd like to come over to your house and talk to you. And I'm thinking, what the hell happened? They get there, it's Brandon Chalice and a victim's advocate. They come into my house and we're all sitting at my kitchen table. And he said, there's just no way to tell you, but Andrew's dead. All I could do was cry. It just didn't seem like it was real. It just felt like my world just crumbled at that time.
So I was working at the time, and I got a call from one of our buddies on the football team, and I could tell immediately something was wrong. Could hear it in his throat, and he said Andrew was murdered yesterday. And we just broke into tears. I mean, what do you say or do? It was just shock. There's no words for what that moment feels like.
what gloves do you need? Some to secure them?
I just might want an extra pair of gloves if you have.
That will really help if you're holding the light and measuring.
Yeah. I got you.
Once everything had kind of calmed down, we turned our attention to the evidence. Some of the evidence that I found on scene was a single spent 9mm shell casing nearby, Andrew's wallet that had cash inside of it. I also located a cell phone with a sticky note on the back with an order for barbecue. As we were scanning the parking lot looking for additional evidence, we didn't locate any firearms. I also located Andrew's car in the parking lot, and we found no weapons inside of Andrew's car.
When you see the wallet is still on the ground and none of the money's missing, motive becomes unclear. It makes you think, was this a target attack? Did the suspect know the victim? We knew that we were going to have to dig deep to solve this mystery.
So as we were combing the scene, we noticed that there was a camera on the side of a nearby barbecue restaurant, which matched up with the sticky note that I found on Andrew's phone right next to the scene. Now we're asking ourselves, could that camera have caught the shooting, the shooter, or at very least the vehicle that left the scene? So officers went to the restaurant, started knocking on the front door, tried the door, nobody was answering. They tried going around the back, continued knocking on the door. Finally, somebody kind of peeked through, noticed it was uniformed law enforcement officers trying to get in and answer the door for us.
You can tell we had the incident happen out here in the parking lot. Let me see if our camera's pointing. Actually, yeah, if you guys have camera footage, that would be awesome.
They were able to pull up the video footage for us almost immediately, which was a miracle.
Saw where the dude was on the ground back there when you pulled up.
Okay.
So you can catch the corner of it right here, it looks like.
Okay.
So you might be able to see something.
Okay.
Video footage, it was pretty grainy. We could see what happened, but not great. We were able to look at the timestamp, which was directly in the vicinity of the 911 call.
It was hard to see what type of vehicle it was. So the surveillance had to be sent off to forensics for analysis, or further investigation to be able to identify the vehicle and persons inside the vehicle.
We appreciate your help, man. That's awesome.
I mean, any little thing for that would help.
Once we exited the restaurant, we turned our attention to the two 911 callers. They were still on scene in the barbecue parking lot. Right now, they're the closest thing we have to the truth behind what happened to Andrew. We didn't know what kind of connection they had with the case.
A lot of times when we interview witnesses, you want everything to be their own raw emotions, raw feelings, raw memories and testimony without being guided or coerced. So we made the decision to take the 911 callers to the station for an interview.
So I told you before, I'm Corporal Nathan Rivers, investigating the shooting at the Dunkin' Donuts parking lot. Could you state your full name?
Alexis Jordan Ellis.
Okay. And you're the one that called 911, right?
Yes.
Okay. So let's start with just take me through. Take me through your night. I'm gonna jot some notes down. I might stop you, but try to get through.
Okay. We pulled up, we parked in the back parking lot. My friend got out to go into the dispensary. Sitting on my phone, playing on Facebook, heard the shot, thought it was a firework for a second, so I looked up and saw the victim face down on the floor, and there was a silver Pontiac in front of the victim, and the shooter was in front of the car, still kind of standing by the victim's body with the gun pointed at him, and then got back into the Pontiac on the passenger side.
So from the information we got from Alexis, this incident seemed really quick, really sudden, and then she dropped this bombshell on us.
Are you familiar with guns?
That's what I'm on probation for.
What's that?
I was dating a guy for 3 weeks. He asked for a ride and shot and killed somebody at the King Soopers.
So when somebody discloses that they're on probation because they were a witness to another murder, it definitely raises a lot of suspicion and raises a lot of questions. So why are you here? What type of situations do you put yourself into? Was she involved in the murder in some way, shape, or form? This was a significant lead that could potentially help us find out what happened to Andrew.
As we were talking to this 911 caller, Alexis, obviously we got this information that she was on probation and that she had been a witness in this other murder. So we had to start treading lightly and making sure that we were paying extra attention to what was going on.
So you had to get him off.
Yeah, he's 5 feet from me.
Got some tremendous luck.
Yeah, and I actually have his trial next week to go testify against, and I go downtown tomorrow to get prepped, so.
Keep charged?
Yeah.
So it makes it seem like either really bad luck or really suspicious that this person's at the wrong place at the wrong time yet again.
So then we turned our attention to our second 911 caller. When we're interviewing two people who are at the same incident at the same time, we're hoping to get pretty much the same story and hopefully some additional information from each witness, but we're hoping that the stories primarily line up.
I walked up to the dispensary, was in there for maybe 5 minutes, left her in the car because she doesn't have her ID and she can't. Alexis. I came back out, looked at her, I saw this dude on the ground. I was talking 911 and then she was standing there. We didn't start CPR immediately.
Both of the 911 callers' stories actually were very consistent with each other, and they provided a lot of the same information.
When we were able to check and see if they had any past connections to Andrew, we found out they had none, neither one of them. So we took them off of our suspect list.
Okay, man.
But one thing was for certain, somebody pulled the trigger and that person was still out there.
The thing that's amazing about this young woman, once the car sped away, she ran to him and she asked him if he was okay. And he said, "No, can you help me?" And she said she held him and he died in her arms. I told her that the only salvation I have is knowing that when he left this world, those monsters weren't the last thing that he saw her.
Shortly after we were conducting our interviews, a call for a missing person comes in, and it turned out to be Andrew's girlfriend, Jessica. When you get a call like that, one of the things you want to do is you want to drop everything, go interview that caller, and find out what's going on.
When we got to the apartment, Jessica was a little concerned as to why so many officers had shown up. I asked her some brief questions about what Andrew had done, where he had gone, what he was doing.
So he was just going out to pick up dinner and didn't come back. He didn't say he was going anywhere else. Okay. Usually he informs me if he's gonna do some other errands on top of something like this.
Okay. So as I'm initially speaking with her, I don't want to give her too much information about what happened to Andrew because I'm not sure if she has anything to do with this. And I'm hopeful she doesn't, but you never know.
He's probably got like 15 missed calls from me, and then I called him about 2 or 3 o'clock this morning, and his phone was just dead.
When's the first time you tried calling him after 8:30?
I think I probably tried to call him around 9:30 and 10.
So after having a brief interview with Jessica, coming to the determination that Jessica probably didn't have any involvement in this, I sat her down and I had to tell her that Andrew wasn't missing, that Andrew had been shot and that he was killed.
Oh my God.
So I know it's very difficult for you, and I know us answering all these questions that we're kind of barraging you with is kind of difficult.
One of the most difficult things a police officer can do or be a part of is letting somebody know their loved one has passed away or had been killed. Just seeing the reaction to people being delivered that news takes a toll on everybody on scene.
I'm just not expecting to hear that he's been shot and killed in a parking lot down the street from my apartment.
I know, but there was no easy way for me to tell you, obviously.
She was devastated. She was sad. She was crying. She was confused, and I think she was hurt.
And you're sure it's him?
We had his identification, everything on scene, and his work ID.
And as we were trying to piece together Andrew's final minutes, we asked Jessica some very pointed questions.
Does he carry a gun?
And so yes, Sky, SCCY, 9mm.
What color is it?
It's silver and black. Yeah.
Where do you keep that gun?
I keep it in its case in our closet.
The SCCY pistol is a small, compact 9mm. 9mm is the same caliber that we found on scene.
We asked her if anything was missing, and that's when she tells us one of the guns was. So to me at this point I'm wondering, well, maybe in that struggle was Andrew's firearm taken from him and maybe used against him?
Is there anywhere else that firearm would be?
That's the only place I can think of possibly, because I don't know if he put that in his car or not. Because he always kept everything in here.
During the initial investigation of the crime scene, officers did search Andrew's vehicle and they did not locate the gun inside the vehicle. If the gun wasn't in the apartment and it wasn't in the car, where was it?
Do you guys let anybody else borrow your firearms or anything like that?
No. We don't even tell anyone about him. The only people that know about him are our parents.
We knew we weren't dealing with just a homicide, but that family's worst nightmare.
I needed to contact his mother, Julie Genesek. I called Julie. I told her that I needed to have a conversation with her, and it was something we had to do in person. When I got to Julie's house, I was able to ask Julie some questions. One of those questions I asked Julie was if her son had any enemies. She indicated to me that he had one that she knew of, and it was Jessica's brother.
Her brother had gotten out of jail and threatened Andrew. At the time, we realized that it was something critical. I mean, somebody coming out of prison. I don't take it lightly.
With this new information about Jessica, Andrew's girlfriend, that about a year prior, Jessica's brother threatened Andrew. And with Andrew's gun being missing and unaccounted for, now I'm wondering, why didn't Jessica tell us this? And is this a credible or serious threat? It was imperative for us to bring in Jessica once more for questioning.
You doing okay?
Yeah.
I wanted to keep Jessica at ease. I didn't want her to feel attacked. I wanted to know why she hadn't told us about this incident involving her brother and Andrew.
Your brother had threatened Andrew.
Yeah,
Basically.
He didn't threaten him directly. It was indirectly to me.
Can you elaborate on that for me?
I had some concerns. Obviously, if somebody's threatening to kill your loved one, especially if that person's a family member, and now there's a potential that a firearm is missing from your house, that would be information that you might want to share with law enforcement.
My brother and I were having a fight, and that's when he said his comment, and it really unnerved me, so I told Andrew, and then Andrew wanted to take it to the police, and the police said your best option would be just to move away from the situation, so we did.
There was a part of me that was thinking she might be trying to protect her brother at this point, but I didn't know. It was a mystery.
He just said that he would take him out with his friend or whatever.
What do you think he meant by that?
I mean, well, the first thought to my head is to kill him.
So with this information, I think it kind of broadened our scope a little bit, and now we just had more information to follow up on.
Andrew hasn't seen my brother in a year, or talked to him or anything, and Andrew has not come up in a conversation between my brother and I. So,
retrospect kind of seems a little important, though.
With the threats from Joseph to Andrew, and the fact that a gun was missing, I thought, this is pretty serious. We need to find Joseph. We divided our workload, and we provided this lead to CBI to follow up on. They located Joseph, picked him up, brought him in for an interview, and CBI conducted the interview with Joseph. Joseph was extremely cooperative. He fully admitted that, yeah, he did have that confrontation and that he did threaten Andrew. He stated he would never actually follow up on that threat, and Joseph was able to provide an alibi that he was actually out of the state during the time of this incident. It's a little frustrating. Once you get rid of a lead and you cross off your board and you've got to refocus your attention, you just kind of reprioritize.
To me, the whole thing was sad. I felt for Andrew. He definitely was quirky. He had this grin he would get, especially when he was being sarcastic, that he would give. But one of the things about Andrew, and sometimes it's uncomfortable to talk about, is he was bullied a lot. But I never once saw Andrew treat them poorly or be negative towards them. He still treated everyone with kindness and respect after he passed. Obviously, I had a lot of questions. Why him? We didn't get a ton of details initially, and we lost a loved one. We couldn't believe it.
After exhausting a lot of our leads, we finally got the security footage back from forensics from the scene at the barbecue restaurant. We were hoping that they could clean up the video enough for us to see any additional details and what was going on between Andrew and this other party. So in the video footage, you can see it as clear as we're going to get it. You can see Andrew start walking towards the restaurant, and you can see headlights approach from one direction. Andrew gets confronted by another party. There's a brief altercation. You see a flash, a gunshot goes off. Andrew falls to the ground. Party runs into the vehicle, and a vehicle takes off, speeds past Andrew.
Seeing that footage was pretty upsetting to me, that somebody would do something like this, especially because it was to Andrew, my friend. Seeing that really motivated me to do the best work I could to try to help Andrew get justice along with his mom, Julie.
From watching that video footage, we couldn't tell if the shooter was a male, female. We couldn't tell ethnicity. We couldn't tell how many people were in the car. It's a little frustrating.
With further review of the footage, the investigation had a huge breakthrough because we could also see that it was not a silver Pontiac that was used. Like, the 911 caller reported it was actually a silver Mitsubishi Eclipse, and we were able to get a partial plate of that Eclipse.
When we determined we had a partial plate for this vehicle and that we knew that it was a Mitsubishi Eclipse, we started running it. We managed to come back with 2 hits for a Mitsubishi Eclipse, similar color with that partial license plate. One of them belonged to a rent-a-car and it hadn't been registered in a year or 2. The other one came back, currently registered to an Alicia Valdez.
Looking into her background, she had a pretty long rap sheet, and at the time, she had a warrant out for her arrest from the El Paso County Sheriff's Office for a burglary. Based on that information, we knew we needed to talk to her and see how she was involved in Andrew's death.
As we're conducting our investigation, obviously this is a big investigation for a small city, so we're still relying on other agencies for our help with the investigation. We put an attempt to locate on the vehicle. 2 days later, we learned that Denver had pulled over that vehicle for an improper left turn. That was a huge break for us.
Alicia, gonna have you step out for a second. Don't grab anything with you, okay? Just step on out for me. Go ahead and put this. I'll tell you in a sec, okay? All right, go ahead and put your cigarette down.
Okay, sorry.
You're okay. All right. Put your hands behind your back. You got a warrant, okay?
Why?
Why do you have a warrant? You probably know that better than I do, but we're gonna do some research and tell you exactly what it is.
As a detective, when you tell somebody that they have a warrant for their arrest and they try to play dumb, it's kind of aggravating, but it's also kind of entertaining because you're the one that committed a crime that has the warrant for your arrest. So why are you trying to pretend that you don't?
Yeah, they put out a felony warrant out for you.
Felony warrant?
Yeah. Yep.
Officers were able to place her into custody without further incident, and our focus then turned to the other individuals that were in the vehicle.
Stand up, man. Stand up. Travis, behind your back.
As we were sitting there trying to find out as much information as we could from everybody else that was on scene, it was immediately discovered then that there was a 9mm pistol on the front passenger seat pointing towards the officer in plain view. It's the same caliber that was used in the murder of Andrew Janicek.
You're not gonna tell me there's a gun in the seat next to you? You're gonna tell me that you're gonna try to leave a gun on the seat when you left? That'd be nice to know, wouldn't it? Oh, and a pocket full of bullets. How about this? I'm about to get out of the car. Officer, I have a gun on me, right? You ever been convicted of a felony before? Okay. All right.
From my experience, whenever somebody is involved in a pretty serious crime like Andrew's homicide, the first thing that people think about is what they need to do with the item used in the killing and where they're going to hide it or destroy it.
There was a thought that maybe this is Andrew's missing gun, or, you know, at the very least that maybe this is the gun responsible for the murder of Andrew Janicek.
Did you let him know that this is in the car? SCCY 9mm?
It was at that point in time that we realized that this is a lot more serious than just a traffic stop for an improper left turn. And we realized that we might be looking at the crew responsible for Andrew Janicek's murder. We realized that the puzzle pieces were starting to fall into place and we might be one step closer to getting justice for Andrew and his family. The suspects were taken back to the police department for interviews.
We separated all of them so we could get their version of the events and their story, and they wouldn't be able to dilute it with each other's information. The first person we interview is Caleb Vigil, the guy who had the gun in the car.
Caleb, the last part of the form reads, if you want to talk to me about what happened, your answer is yes. If you don't want to talk to me, you should say no. Okay, and our interview is concluded at 6:51. Yeah.
When Caleb lawyered up, obviously all questioning ceased against him. It's frustrating because now he's a dead end in the investigation, but we did have other people to interview and investigate at that point in time.
We arrested Caleb for being a felon in possession of a weapon by previous offender. Then we turned our attention to the person driving the car, Alicia Valdez. At first with that interview, we didn't want to go in too hard and kind of scare her off.
What kind of car is it?
2006 Mitsubishi Eclipse.
Okay. So who else uses your car?
Really mainly just me. I don't really like people driving my car. I get really bad anxiety and I don't really trust people.
We were hoping to get some information about where her vehicle had been the night that Andrew was killed, where she had been, and if she knew where her vehicle had been that evening.
Your car was at the scene of a murder. Someone got out of your car, shot someone, and killed them. Got back into your car and drove away. You just told me that you were driving your car all week. You were there when it happened. Right? You need to tell me the truth.
Seeing how she had continued to stick to her story even though we knew she was lying just motivated me and everybody to prove that she had involvement in what happened to Andrew.
I don't recall.
You don't recall?
I don't.
Since Caleb was found with the firearm and with a pocket full of ammunition, we were working under the impression that Caleb was probably our shooter. And I believed that she had information that could tie the whole case together.
Okay, look. We have it on video. I know that the person who shot this guy is a guy. Okay? I know it wasn't you. I know it was your car. You tell me you're the only one driving your car, so you were driving the car.
I mean, yeah, but I don't recall being in wherever you're saying I was. I'm the only one that drives my car, but
right.
I don't recall.
She had so many holes in the story. She wasn't able to answer certain questions, and her body language alone was just showing a lot of signs of deceit.
Eventually somebody's going to be down to talk to you about this and more likely serve you a warrant for murder.
At that point in time, the color drained out of her face and the realization of what was going on seemed to finally hit her.
Your car is ours. It's one in our case. So I don't know if you own the car. I don't know if you have a lien on it.
Alicia was a little bit shocked. She didn't really understand, or pretended she didn't understand, and couldn't believe that this was happening to her. Alicia was arrested in connection with the murder.
We still had a lot of uncertainties. We still didn't know who was driving the vehicle, who pulled the trigger, who all was actually in the vehicle when this happened.
At this point, we turned our attention to the other person in the car, Devon Howard.
I think Alicia cares for you a lot. She made that real clear to us.
She's gonna pay for it.
She's kind of screwing herself over to protect you.
We all know that car has been involved with some bullshit before tonight. Very recently. Which is where her problems come in.
From our interview with Devon, it was almost like he wanted to provide information to keep Alicia out of trouble. Not because he wanted to do it to clear his conscience or be a good person, but simply because he wanted to keep Alicia out of trouble because they were dating at the time.
The mountain is waiting to fall on top of her, and it's happening as we speak. That car was used in a drive-by. Got the license plate of that.
I wouldn't mind getting her out of trouble, but I'm not a lawyer, so I know what is safe to be said.
My instincts were telling me that Devon had a lot more information, a lot more knowledge about what had happened than what he was telling us.
We weren't able to determine what role Devon played in what happened to Andrew, so we had no way of holding him at the time we interviewed him.
So at this point, we had to make a pivotal decision.
The only information that we had gotten from Caleb during his interview was the address for his apartment, which was where he lived with Devon Howard.
We thought Caleb was the shooter, and that's why we executed the search warrant of Caleb's apartment. When we got to the apartment, You got to be careful because situations like this, a lot of times people have backup plans or they're associated with other people who don't like law enforcement, so you have to treat this with a very serious matter.
Let's go check here. Look good?
Right? Where? Find the TV. I swear to God,
We're good.
You check behind his bed.
Yeah.
Behind but not under. I don't think anybody can enter.
Behind's clear. There's something I can't tell what this is.
Insecure. I've been hearing stuff, but I couldn't tell.
One of the biggest pieces of evidence that we found inside the apartment was a box of ammunition that had the same casing on it. That was a casing that was found on scene. But as the case was starting to take shape, one question still lingered. Why Andrew was murdered. And the mystery of who killed Andrew Jenisic was finally starting to unravel.
We still needed information to prove that these suspects were tied to Andrew's death.
After we stopped Alicia and impounded the Mitsubishi Eclipse, we ended up doing a search warrant on that vehicle. In that vehicle, we found a receipt from 7-Eleven close to the crime scene the night of Andrew's murder. We took that receipt to the 7-Eleven. When we got there, we asked them to see their video footage. They were more than happy to provide that to us. Being able to see that footage was huge. We see the vehicle pull up. We see Devon get out of the driver's seat, not Alicia. We see Devon exit the vehicle. We see Alicia get out of the vehicle. We see Caleb Vigil get out of the vehicle.
One of the big things that security camera footage showed is that Alicia was not the one driving, even though she swore up and down that she never lets anybody else drive her vehicle.
So now we have our witnesses. We have a gun. We have our shell casing. We have our vehicle. And we have 2 murder suspects in custody. Alicia and Caleb. And now we're just looking for Devon Howard because we had no reason to initially keep him. But now with this new footage, we know he was there. We know he was involved. And now we need to get him back in custody.
We had gotten some tips that Devon was trying to skip town. He had reached out to somebody about potentially getting his face tattooed to cover up his appearance.
We got information that he was going to be meeting with a tattoo artist in a parking lot at a local ice hockey rink. Myself, Officer Young, and a couple other investigators set up at this ice rink and waited for Devon Howard to get there. All of a sudden, we see Devon walking across the street, and we pounced. Probably one of the best feelings for this case. We ended up placing Devon Howard into custody, and we take him in for another interview. At this time, we come at him with just the facts. I think the only thing that he really cared about was trying to keep Alicia out of trouble.
You guys know she did not pull the trigger. Okay. That's what matters. I'm just here to get her out of trouble. I'm not here to get anyone else in trouble, except for myself, obviously. Right.
When you got situations like that and you got people not wanting people to get in trouble, that clearly shows that they know more than what they're leading on, and you want to be able to press that issue.
All right, so when you see this go down, right? You leave, you come out, yeah, that's here. You come out here and make this way. Do you hit this guy? When he's on do you hit the...
Accidentally, yes. I was a little panicked because, as I said, it was not planned. I accidentally hit him.
Do you remember if he was lying down or was he up?
I don't remember any of that. I remember it happened somewhere in front of me. I tried to turn, but I still remember running him over because I felt it.
Devon admitted to us that Caleb had shot and killed Andrew, and that Devon himself was the driver of the vehicle that night. I was shocked. I was shocked that he had no remorse for what he and his friends had done, and I was disturbed that he cared so little and valued so little somebody else's life.
I understand that, and I'm not saying you weren't, but we're just trying to understand what the mindset is. Is it just a random act that goes bad?
I don't know why the dude got shot. I don't know how the situation occurred. All I know is that the person ended up getting shot.
My opinion was Andrew went to Billy Sims to go get dinner and was confronted by our suspects and was there to be robbed. Caleb Vigil murdered Andrew in the process while trying to be robbed, and the suspects then just took off without taking his money or phone or anything like that, because that wasn't their intention to murder. They were there to rob him.
Andrew died because they showed no compassion for other living beings. I don't think I'll ever experience something like this again. For me to investigate a homicide that involves somebody that I went to high school with is something that I'll probably and hopefully never have to go through again.
The gun that was found in the Mitsubishi Eclipse next to Caleb V. Hill was not Andrew's missing gun, but it was the murder weapon. It was test fired and sent off to the lab, and they were able to confirm that it was the same firearm that was used to kill Andrew Janicek. In the summer of 2019, Caleb, Devon, and Alicia were all sentenced in the homicide of Andrew Janicek. They're all serving life without parole. This entire incident was callous. It was senseless. The amount of pain that his family and his friends have to endure to this day, I can't fathom, nor do I ever want to, and it's a tragedy.
I sat on a board for Parents of Murdered Children for almost 3 years, and I did talk to people. And I heard a lot of horror stories, and you can survive it, but you need help too. This is just not the normal process of death. I was supposed to go first. But I think as humans, we have to grow and try to navigate our lives in a new path.
This was no accident. It was a choice, a trigger pulled, a future stolen. Caleb V. Hill, Devin Howard, Alicia Valdez, each played a part. Each bears responsibility. Today, justice answers. Guilty, not to erase the pain, but to ensure Andrew's story is never forgotten.